Social Security income and collect more on every Social Security check, and create a lifetime monthly income stream 100% tax-free. So today, Bob has made it his mission to give retirees and future retirees the full story in a free report. Log on now to retirementwatchreport.com to get yours. This retirement strategy is fully approved by the IRS, even though less than 1% of Americans know enough to use it. Nobel Prize-winning economist and MIT professor Robert Merton predicts this strategy will become one of the key ways to fund retirement in the future. Log on to retirementwatchreport.com to get your free report. That's retirementwatchreport.com. retirementwatchreport.com.
Live from Little Rock, Doc Washburn.
It's fun when they let me out to go talk to people.
He's like the adorable puppy, you know. He chews on your Christian Louboutins, but somehow you still love him.
They say I'm a distinguished radio talk show.
No insult intended. The news you don't get anywhere else. Doc Washburn.
It's good to be able to get out of the studio so that I can actually kiss hands and shake babies.
You just can't make this stuff up.
As we say here in the natural state, y'all come see us.
You better watch what you say, or you might just find yourself with the lead role.
The Doc Washburn Show. Weekday afternoons 4 to 6.
If I don't lie down and take a nap, I'm going to keel over.
Doc Washburn on 101.1. The Answer.
Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
101.1 The Answer, Doc Washburn Show continues. You can sound off and talk back at 501-401-1011. Big thank you to Val Emmons for filling in for me on, let's see, it was Friday. Yes. Sorry, I'm trying to sign in. Trying to sign into X, and they just don't want to let me do it. Well, at least I figured out I'm supposed to call it X instead of Twitter. Anyway, Val Emmons filled in for me on Friday. Appreciate that. And also appreciate Colonel Conrad Reynolds and Will Huff, my friends, filling in for me yesterday. It was Mother's Day, and the brothers and I got a text a couple of weeks ago from one of the brothers saying, look, Mom is 93, so you guys need to be here. And so indeed, I was there, and a long drive from Little Rock to Panama City and on the way back, but delighted to be back. A lot of stuff to talk about today. John Brennan, perhaps you recall, John Brennan was CIA director under Barack Obama. I'm sorry. I didn't show the proper respect. John Brennan was CIA director under Barack Hussein Obama. Yeah, let's have the full name in there. John Brennan, widely understood to be not only a communist, but also a Muslim. And John Brennan, not widely known because most people have lives, unlike me, and they don't have a chance to keep up with everything. However, John Brennan has been subpoenaed to give testimony at the federal grand jury that is going on in Fort Pierce, Florida, and has been going on since the middle of January, along with a whole lot of other folks. And he's feeling the heat. He's been complaining that, it's very difficult for him to pay for his legal defense, even though he has not, as of yet, as far as I know, been indicted, unless the indictment is under seal and just hasn't been reported. Anyway, so John Brennan went on MSNBC with a like mind, because who on MSNBC wouldn't be a like mind? And I don't know, do you remember a show called Happy Days? You remember a character called Fonzie? And you remember when Happy Days had been going on for so many seasons they're running out of ideas, and so they had a scene in which Fonzie apparently was he was water skiing, and they made this in the scene. Fonzie water skiing actually jumped the shark, and so the figure of speech jumping the shark became part of our national collective vocabulary. And jumping the shark kind of stands for the idea that when you've run out of ideas, when you're going overboard, you jump the shark. So John Brennan, sad to say for him, but very enlightening for us, was on with Nicole Wallace on MSNBC. I guess it was yesterday. And John Brennan jumped the shark in a major way. He didn't do himself any favors. You won't believe what he admitted, and here it is.
He has succeeded largely in turning DOJ and the FBI into political arms of his political operation. What still exists in the system to slow that down?
Well, I think, as Liz mentioned, there's still a legion of professionals in the law enforcement environment, the Department of Justice, as well as the CIA and other places, the ones who are refusing to follow politically motivated prosecutions, those who are refusing to support any type of political activities on the part of the Trump administration that are inconsistent with the authorities, the responsibilities of the intelligence community, law enforcement community, and Department of Justice.
Now, I'd like to take the liberty here of pointing out that a lot of times when liberals complain about things that they say their opponents are doing, their complaints are actually confessions as to what they have done. The idea that this DOJ is politically motivated, that this DOJ is going after opponents of the current president is hilarious. But then again, the tiny audience that MSNBC has probably don't have the presence of mind to think, let's see, wait a minute. Who was Attorney General under Joe Biden? Merrick Garland. Did Merrick Garland's DOJ go after any political opponents of Biden or Obama? Gee, I'm racking my brain. I just can't think. Their minds are not going to go that way. It's like a friend of mine once told me when he attempts to argue with liberals. He said, it's hard enough to get a liberal to go from point A to point B. You'll never get them to go all the way to point C. That's not the way their minds work. So John Brennan had a whole lot to do with the coup, with the effort that began when Obama was still in the White House to completely undermine Obama's successor, Donald John Trump. A whole lot to do with it. And a lot of it is very public. And a lot of it is very illegal. So what John Brennan is doing here, now think about it. He's saying, you know what? There are still a whole lot of folks who are still embedded in DOJ and a lot of other places high up in the federal government, and they're actively working on subterfuge. They're actively working to obstruct everything that this president is trying to do. So that's That's quite an admission. And I don't think that he understood what he was doing when he did that. Now, thinking about that, let me just give you an update. So Andrew Colvett, you might have heard the name, executive producer of the Charlie Kirk Show. Andrew Colvett embedded the video that I just played you the audio from, and he said, unbelievable. Former CIA Director John Brennan just said the quiet part out loud, that there are still a legion of bureaucrats within the intel and justice communities who are actively sabotaging the executive authority of President Trump. Quote, there's still a legion of professionals in the law enforcement environment, the Department of Justice, as well as the CIA and other places, unquote. Interesting use of the word legion there. Real rich coming from the very man who politicized the intelligence community against President Trump. And one of the responses, I found this fascinating. And we'll get to the response of the Department the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. We'll get to Tulsi Gabbard's response here in a little bit. But use the word legion reminded one person of the Gospel of Luke. His disciples asked him what this parable meant. He said, the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of God has been given to you, but to others I speak in parables, so that though seeing, they may not see, though hearing, they may not understand. And also from Mark, no one lights a lamp and hides it in a clay jar or puts it under a bed. Instead, they put it on a stand so that those who come in can see the light. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. Therefore, consider carefully how you listen. Whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what they think they have will be taken from them. That's from Luke, now from Mark. Then Jesus asked him, what is your name? He replied, my name is Legion, for we are many. This occurs when Jesus arrives in the region of the Gerasenes or Gadarenes. He encountered a man possessed by unclean spirits who lived among the tombs, could not be restrained, and harmed himself. Jesus commands the demons to come out, asks the man's name, and the demons identify themselves as Legion, a Roman military term for a unit of about 6,000 soldiers, indicating many demons. Jesus then permits them to enter a herd of pigs, which rush into the sea and drown. The man is healed and wants to follow Jesus, but is told to go home and tell others what God has done for him. The name Legion emphasizes the overwhelming number and power of the evil spirits, yet they are still subject to Jesus' authority. This story highlights themes of deliverance, Jesus' power over evil, and the man's restoration. So fascinating. The former CIA director, Muslim, communist, John Brennan, would use that very word. There's still a legion of professionals in the law enforcement environment, the Department of Justice, as well as the CIA and other places. I'm reminded of another place where our Lord talks about some things take prayer and fasting. Now, coming up, we will have the official response from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, to what former CIA Director John Brennan claimed and what he admitted. As the Doc Washer Show continues on Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
The news never stops, and neither does your schedule. That's why we're here, keeping you up to date with all the biggest stories of the day. We're 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on the dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
Did you hear Congressman Bruce Westerman on the Dave Ellswick Show?
You can get people from the Democrats to many times support conservative policies. What's your special elixir that's helping you do that?
Well, there's different groups of Democrats up here, and there's some that there's issues that you can work with them on. And most of the time, it's just looking at the facts and finding somebody that wants to work for the good of the country, and we can work together on issues when we do that. It's really the far left of the Democrat Party that's sounding the bell and that's got the attention of the media. But when we look at certain economic issues and issues with natural resources, we've been able to do a lot of good work on the Natural Resources Committee.
Don't miss Congressman Westerman, Wednesday mornings at 7:30 on the Dave Ellswick Show, 101.1 The Answer. Larry Elder warns of trusting this regime.
Unclear whether Iran has agreed to permanently suspend its pursuit of a nuclear bomb. This is an evil, evil regime. They have been at war against us for 47 years. And there's no reason to believe that it is some sort of deal, that they will stick to it, they will abide by it, that they won't break it.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 6, right before Hugh Hewitt at 9 on 101.1 The Answer.
.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues, where you can sound off and talk back. 501-401-1011. So John Brennan admitting there is a legion of bureaucrats within the intelligence and justice communities who are actively sabotaging the executive authority of President Trump. DOJ, CIA, all over the place. And yes, children. Yes, children, even the FBI. Regardless of what I think about a lot of the things that Kash Patel has accomplished, I have to agree. I have to agree that Steve Baker, January 6th journalist, is correct. The Kash has not fired nearly enough holdovers. Look, I try to follow the truth wherever it takes me, even if it makes me uncomfortable sometimes, even if it makes you uncomfortable sometimes. Anyway, let me get right to what the Office of the Director of National Intelligence said just a few hours ago about Brennan. The same CIA director who pushed the Russia collusion hoax for years is now openly admitting there are still bureaucrats inside the intelligence community and DOJ working against a duly elected president. The deep state was never a conspiracy theory. Okay, now, again, the question is, what's going to be done about it? And I'm breathlessly anticipating what indictments will come out of the federal grand jury meeting in Fort Pierce, Florida, to investigate all this stuff. And in case you're like, statute of limitations is run, I don't mind repeating what Kash Patel told Joe Rogan last summer, and then told Sean Hannity last November, and what even Maria Bartiromo talked about last November. If they can prove an overarching conspiracy ongoing, statute of limitations doesn't enter into it. Statute of limitations does not begin to run until the day of the last criminal act. So, just something to keep in mind. There is so much evidence out there, not just about Brennan, not just about Comey, not just about Clapper. It all goes back to Obama. It really does. All right, let's see what else we have here. I'm not a big Lindsey Graham fan, but when he's right, he's right. Let's go with Lindsey Graham grills General Kane, cut one, please.
Are you aware of reports that Pakistan are allowing their bases to be used to park Iranian aircraft, General Kane?
Sir, I've seen one report on that.
Well, is it accurate?
Sir, I think based on the variety of classification matters.
Let me just say, do you agree if it is accurate, that is sort of inconsistent with it being a peace mediator?
Sir, I wouldn't want to comment on that based on the ongoing negotiations and Pakistan's role.
Yeah, you can't blame him. He's a general. He's the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He doesn't want to get in the middle of negotiations, which is a whole different arm of the government. But Lindsey Graham's got a point. And Lindsey Graham grills Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, cut two.
Secretary Hegseth, if the mediator is allowing reconnaissance aircraft in Iran to be parked in Pakistani air bases, do you think that's consistent with being a fair mediator?
I wouldn't want to get in the middle of these negotiations. I want
I do. I want to get in the middle of these negotiations. I don't trust Pakistan as far as I can throw them. If they actually do have Iranian aircraft parked in Pakistan bases to protect Iranian military assets, that tells me we should be looking maybe for somebody else to mediate. No wonder this damn thing is going nowhere. So, I appreciate all you've done. I'm very supportive of it. But when it comes to Pakistan and China, enough already.
Yes, exactly. Now, look, it's one thing for Democrat members of Congress to try to catch Republican members of the Trump administration off guard and make them look bad, make Trump look bad, whatever. But that's not what Lindsey Graham's doing here. It would not be a surprise if General Kane and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth knew these questions were coming, regardless of the fact that they still can't comment on them. Lindsey Graham's putting it out there that Pakistan is stabbing us in the back while acting like a neutral mediator, which of course they aren't. Keep that in mind. More coming up as the Doc Washer Show continues on 101.1 The Answer.
Just waiting on a friend. I'm just waiting on a
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Kuwait accused Iran of launching a failed attack earlier this month on an island where China is helping build a port in the Middle East nation.
The accusation brought Tuesday came just before President Trump was to depart for Beijing, where he'll meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping for a high-stakes visit. The Missouri Supreme Court has upheld new U.S. House districts backed by President Trump. Republicans hope the districts could help them win an additional seat in the November midterm elections. The court ruled Tuesday that the new districts comply with constitutional requirements to be compact. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 56 points. The Nasdaq dropped 185. The S&P 500 declined 11. Oil trading around $102 a barrel. This is SRN News.
Progressive knows you think the grass is always greener, like maybe you ride a motorcycle. But today, it's raining. So you wish you had an RV, but if you did, you'd have to listen to some guy parked next to it at a campsite plays acoustic guitar. Now, before you start wishing you had a boat, remember, your brother-in-law would invite himself every weekend.
Permission to come aboard, Captain?
But one thing that is greener is the money you could save when you bundle your RV, boat, or motorcycle with your home or auto with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify.
Don't let power outages leave you in the dark. At Northside Power, when you buy a Kohler in-home standby generator, you'll receive a free 10-year extended warranty on parts and labor, a $1,400 value. That's 10 years of worry-free protection, knowing your generator will keep your lights on, your food cold, and your family safe, no matter what the weather brings. This limited time offer won't last long, so act fast. Call Northside Power or visit northsidepower.com, your trusted local source for Kohler standby generators. Northside Power. Generators isn't something we do, it's all we do since 1978.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Hello, KDXE listeners. Join me Saturdays, 8 a.m. for a new program about investing in physical gold and silver. The show, Johnny on the Spot, provides valuable insight about buying and selling physical precious metals. Brought to you by CMI Gold and Silver, the nation's oldest bullion firm, serving clients nationwide since 1973. Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. on 101.1 FM The Answer. And check us out online at cmigs.com.
One 101.1 The Answer. Doc Washington show continues. You can sound off and talk back. 501-401-1011. Just a reminder, when you hear an announcement about my friend Greg Nally over Northside Power, they're a big reason that I'm even on the radio. And I just want to remind you, they're local. They're right here in Central Arkansas. When you contact them, you're going to get local experts, not a call center. They believe in quality over volume. I would definitely go with Northside Power instead of a big box store for a generator. They are Central Arkansas's #1 generator store. And generators is not just something they do, it's all they do. My buddy Greg Nally, Northside Power, can't recommend him enough. Now, of course, I'm in the middle of trying to tell you there is a federal grand jury looking into Russiagate and the coup attempt and all this stuff. Fort Pierce, Florida. Just on the off chance something might happen. But, does that mean that I am no longer firmly in the and nothing will happen camp? No, it does not. And the fact that apparently statute of limitations for indicting Dr. Anthony Fauci on perjury for lying to Congress has passed. So let's take a look at that. Jeffrey A. Tucker over the Brownstone Institute says, why did the DOJ not indict Fauci for perjury? My best guess is that Fauci himself was nothing but a media hound and actor. There are far deeper forces at work, and they know not partisan bounds. Indicting Fauci would only open up a gigantic can of worms. He knows this. Now, I love Jeffrey A. Tucker. I've read a lot of his stuff. His stuff on the air. Usually a brilliant guy, but big pushback from my buddy Foya fan who says, oh, come on. He was pardoned. How can you ask this question without even mentioning the main impediment to indictment? And he's got a screenshot of Joe Biden's auto pen pardon of Fauci. Jeffrey A. Tucker comes back, says he can still be indicted. He just cannot plead the fifth. Foya fan comes back again saying, no, that is the dumbest thing you have ever said on this platform. You're a smart guy. What is this crap? You're not normally a clickbait guy. Fauci was pardoned. Perhaps he can't plead the fifth if he is compelled to testify today, but that has nothing to do with whether he can be indicted for past crimes. And of course, what he leaves out is the pardon only goes back to 2014. And there are a lot of folks who are going to tell you that Fauci is responsible for a lot of stuff way, way before 2014. And one other response here from Scott Atlas himself, doctor that President Trump brought in late in the game when he was still in office in 2020. Scott Atlas said he disagreed with Jeffrey A. Tucker about why Fauci wasn't indicted for perjury. He said it's because, number one, politicians are mainly empty, simply theater, performing for the camera. Number two, we have a country where truth and honesty do not matter to most people, so it follows there is no accountability demanded. And again, people keep on pointing out the pardon. So the problem I have with the pardon is that there are people who worked in the Biden White House who said that Biden wasn't even aware of a lot of the auto pen pardons. I'm seeing people say, oh, well, he said he knew he pardoned Fauci. I haven't seen that. Maybe he did. And if he did, then you're done. For crimes since 2014. Before 2014, again, Biden, as far as I can tell, didn't pardon anybody for anything before 2014. So, if Fauci, if he gets subpoenaed to testify in the prosecution of somebody else, then no, he can't take the fifth because he's been pardoned. So he can't incriminate himself. So it's really odd, the things that people understand and the things that people don't understand. And we could do a whole show on that, but then that would keep us from doing what we need to do today. So Pete Hegseth and General Raisin Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, are both testifying today under oath. And liberals didn't do well against them. Chris Coons is a Democrat senator from Delaware, and we have a few clips of him giving it his best shot with Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Chris Coons and Hegseth, cut one, please.
In my assessment, there was no imminent threat to the United States that justified the president using his Article II powers, and there was insufficient preparation to make sure that we had the right troops, the right capability deployed. There used to be a consensus in national security that America should only go to war when there's an imminent threat to our national security, when all other options have been exhausted, and when we have clear objectives and a plan for how it ends.
Really? So that's what we used to do? I guess Chris Coons isn't old enough to remember when Barack Obama decided to attack Libya. Was our national security under some kind of imminent threat when Barack Hussein Obama decided to attack Libya, decided to back the jihadist rebels who savagely murdered Muammar Gaddafi, the head of Libya? No. Listen to me. You can say what you want about Gaddafi being a bad guy and whatever you want to say. Yeah, he was a bad guy. But the question is, was our national security imminently threatened by Gaddafi when Barack Obama decided we needed to attack Libya? Oh, it definitely wasn't. And I'll tell you how I know. Because when we hauled Saddam Hussein out of that spider hole over there in Iraq and put him on trial for his life, all of a sudden, Muammar Gaddafi said, you know what? Hey, I'll tell you what. I really don't need weapons of mass destruction. Now, I saw what happened with Brother Saddam over there, and I know you could probably do the same thing over here. So, yeah, I'm going to flip. I'm going to do a 180, and I just want to get along with everybody, and everything will be cool. And Barack Hussein Obama and Hillary Clinton were like, yeah, we don't care. We're coming for you, man. And they took him out. So you got Chris Coons here pretending that none of that ever happened and trusting that the handful of Delaware voters who might come across his statement today will never think of that. And if you point it out to them, you know what you get in response? Whataboutism. That's a whataboutism. That's a term that people use when they're upset that you're pointing out somebody's hypocrisy. When you say, well, Chris Coons, you say this now, but where were you then? Because Chris Coons has been in the United States Senate since November of 2010. So he was in there. He was in there when we were going against Libya. This is a term that liberals use when they get upset that you're pointing out their hypocrisy. Oh, that's whataboutism. That term didn't exist more than a few years ago. No, I'm just pointing out you're a hypocrite because you apply a different standard, a different measure, depending upon whose ox is being gored. You know, whether it's against your guys or the other guy's guys. Anyway, Chris Coons and Hegseth, cut two, please.
As General Kane testified, the military was given three clear goals: sink the Navy, attack and destroy the ballistic missile launchers, and degrade their defense industrial base. And you've accomplished those. But President Trump celebrated regime change after saying that regime change was the real goal.
President Trump always said that regime change was not the goal. Now, after we took out the Ayatollah and almost 50 of the top guys, he used the phrase regime change in the sense that the top 2 or 3 levels of the regime were gone, but he knows that the guys who are still left in charge are not any different from the guys we took out. But Chris Coons is trusting that you won't be aware of that. Chris Coons and Hegseth, cut 3, please.
And our NATO allies have delivered. They have allowed overflight. They have allowed projection of force despite not being consulted.
Spain didn't. Spain said, no, you can't go over our country. He knows that. He's just lying to you. Chris Coons and Hegseth, cut 4, please.
You said just a few moments ago, Mr. Secretary, we control the strait. But it's clear that reopening the Strait of Hormuz for commercial traffic eludes us in no small part because Iran retains a robust stockpile of cheap, lethal Shahed drones, and they are getting help from our adversaries in rebuilding them. What is your plan for reopening the Strait of Hormuz, Mr. Secretary?
Ooh, Senator Coons just made a big mistake. You know what his big mistake was? He asked Pete Hegseth a question and then hushed to let Pete Hegseth answer it. And so next we will give you the evidence of Pete Hegseth eviscerating Senator Coons. Cut 5, please.
I would just note that the majority of your question was highly disingenuous and loaded with suggestions that I very much don't agree with. From the beginning,
Please feel free, sir, to pick any one of those
From the
things.
beginning, we've been very clear about the military objectives and the
Yes.
underlying strategic objective, which is preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon.
Yes.
Take, for example, the fact that Iranians' conventional Navy, they had aircraft carriers with Shahed drones on them before this started. They had full-on destroyers and battleship capabilities, none of which they have anymore. And
Did the
their inability
Iranian
to-
Navy have aircraft carriers?
Iranian Navy had 3 drone aircraft carriers. The
Okay.
Iranian Navy
They
had
had
11
launch
submarines.
platforms for drones, sure.
They had 11 submarines.
And you've
They had
sunk
a
all of the
terror
regular Navy. Great. Good.
But wait, there's more. Chris Coons and Pete Hegseth, this is our last cut for this back and forth. Cut 6, please.
They retain fast boat capabilities, which they've always had. We understand that, which we can control for and will. We've degraded almost completely their defense industrial base capabilities. The idea that they control anything, you can terrorize something, you can hold it at issue with piracy, as I've talked about at the Pentagon podium time and time again. That doesn't mean you control it. We control what goes in and out, and we control whether or not we have to restart conflict. The president does as well.
Mr.
So
Secretary.
we're the ones that will manage where this goes in the future, and they have very limited ability to set the tempo or respond to it. And that gives the president a lot of options to ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon.
That's not how Chris Coons wanted this to go, because he was a big supporter of Barack Obama's Iran nuke deal, which would have ensured that Iran did get nuclear weapons. More coming up as the Doc Washer Show continues on Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
If you're considering investing in precious metals, don't wait. The Iranian conflict seems to be nearing an end, and the time is now to position your retirement for massive growth. Advantage Gold is America's #1 precious metals company, and they want to send you a free gold and silver investor guide valued at $49 when you call 800-900-8000. Plus, you'll get a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Our specialists can help you open a new account or transfer funds from an existing IRA, tax and penalty free, and show you how a gold-backed IRA can put real, tangible assets into your retirement portfolio. Markets react to news cycles, but gold has maintained its value through inflation, volatility, and economic uncertainty. When the purchasing power of the dollar declines, that's when investors turn to gold and silver. Make your move now. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Results may vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Did you hear Congressman Bruce Westerman on the Dave Ellswick Show?
You can get people from the Democrats to many times support conservative policies. What's your special elixir that's helping you do that?
Well, there's different groups of Democrats up here, and there's some that there's issues that you can work with them on. And most of the time, it's just looking at the facts and finding somebody that wants to work for the good of the country, and we can work together on issues when we do that. It's really the far left of the Democrat Party that's sounding the bell and that's got the attention of the media. But when we look at certain economic issues and issues with natural resources, we've been able to do a lot of good work on the Natural Resources Committee.
Don't miss Congressman Westerman, Wednesday mornings at 7:30 on the Dave Ellswick Show. 101.1, The Answer.
President Trump has triggered a $200 billion tech disruption, and Wall Street is asleep at the switch. This $200 billion investment in chip technology could make today's artificial intelligence chips obsolete. Technology that will make today's AI data centers a thing of the past, like IBM's old mainframes. While most investors are focused on old-fashioned AI, there are three companies quietly building a $1 trillion triangle that could transform every tech sector on Earth. These three companies are gearing up to develop and manufacture supercomputers the size of a dinner plate. Institutions like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street are pouring more than $200 billion into this AI revolution. Investment guru George Gilder has been predicting tech revolutions for more than 40 years, including the iPhone, Netflix, and Amazon. Now he's got his finger on three companies whose technology will change tech forever. Log on to TrillionDollarTriangle.com to find out which three companies are working on what could be the biggest tech disruption since the internet. TrillionDollarTriangle.com. That's TrillionDollarTriangle.com.
101.1 The Answer. Doc Washington Show continues, where you can sound off and talk back at 501-401-1011. Got a little bit of breaking news here. James O'Keefe, the guy who started Project Veritas and now he has OMG, O'Keefe Media Group. He has a habit of sending out his journalists, who tend to be attractive young ladies who get dates with people who work in the government. And these people who work in the government on hidden camera say all kinds of things they really, really, really shouldn't say. May I give you an example, gentle listener? The Western Journal has this story, Michael Schwartz with the byline. And this just dropped a few minutes ago. Note to single men, particularly in the Washington, D.C. area, avoid unguarded conversations with a woman on a first date. Excuse me, she might have a hidden camera. In a clip posted today to the social media platform X by James O'Keefe, best known as co-founder of Project Veritas and producer of many viral clips featuring undercover journalists on phony dates with unsuspecting government officials, a senior White House budget analyst under this president, President Trump, told his date, and I quote, "We've got to get rid of Trump seriously," unquote. Now, does that sound like somebody who should be receiving a paycheck from the Trump administration? Something doesn't quite seem kosher here, if I may use the term present company. In fact, the young man's name, Benjamin Elliston, is identified as senior budget analyst / funding manager at the Trump White House. He had many derogatory things to say about President Trump on the undercover video. About Trump, he said he's a mess. He's effing it up for everybody. We've got to get rid of him honestly, unquote. As his supposed date continued, the budget analyst sounded more and more like a frustrated bureaucrat. Elliston said, quote, "With him at the top, it's next to impossible to do anything. He's a madman, literally. He's invincible. Nothing can stop him, and that's dangerous." Then, and this one really surprised me, then Elliston used Trump's legendary sobriety against him. The budget analyst said, and I quote, "The way his decisions are so erratic, you would think he drinks. He doesn't drink. And that's what makes him so dangerous, that someone could be of sound mind and body, totally coherent, could just be so reckless in their decision-making. That's scary, unquote. After a brief interlude from the clip's narrator, budget analyst Elliston took the entire Trump administration to task, saying, quote, for some reason, they feel like America was getting too diverse, too liberal. They think the white man is being under attack and being suppressed and threatened to be a minority, unquote. The budget analyst, who is black, used a sarcastic tone while uttering those words. Moments later, Elliston reiterated, quote, he should never be president. For me, it's that simple. That's where it stops. He should never. Then Elliston grew more pensive, rubbing his chin as he spoke. He picked up moments later, however, when his supposed date asked if people knew his feelings about the president. He responded with a hearty laugh, quote, no, they can't know, unquote. The clip also featured footage of the undercover journalist's date with Maxim Lott, identified as special assistant to President Trump, White House Domestic Policy Counsel. Lott did not express personal animus toward Trump. However, the advisor did characterize White House decision-making processes as chaotic. He said there's no cost benefit, and there's no oh, well, this will cost $10 million, but save people $20 million. There's nothing like that. It's just this feels like a good idea, or the base supports this. Lott went on to characterize Trump's underlings as semi-rogue, acting in the president's name, but without his express approval. The White House has not yet commented on the clip. Well, what do you want to make a bet they're going to? I mean, you can't make it up. This is just incredible. Now, who is supposed to be vetting these people? Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, maybe? I mean, this guy kind of looks like Cole Thomas Allen, the guy that wanted to shoot the president, but there's probably no connection. No. They probably don't know each other. But I just felt like it was my duty, my responsibility to share this with you because a lot of house cleaning needs to go on, in my humble opinion, and you're entitled to it. Yeah, it's very concerning who can get that close to the Oval Office. Very concerning. So much more coming up in the second hour of the show. Doc Washburn Show continues. Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Methodist Family Health has more than a century of providing the best possible care to those who may need our help. As we move forward through our second century, we are adding another nonprofit behavioral hospital for children and adolescents to our complete continuum of care. No matter the names of our programs, Methodist Children's Behavioral Hospital, Arkansas Cares, Methodist Counseling Clinics, we are all Methodist Family Health. Many names, one care.
Find us at 1011fmtheanswer.com. Download our app, stream us 24/7, or watch us at snc.tv. KDXE, Kamek Village, Little Rock.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The U.S. has announced the United Arab Emirates received military help from Israel to help protect it from Iran attacks.
We've also heard from the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, the former Arkansas governor, who says that Israel deployed troops as well as Iron Dome batteries to the United Arab Emirates during the Iran war. This is the first public acknowledgement of Israeli forces deploying here in the UAE since 2020, when the UAE first had that diplomatic recognition deal with Israel. Now, Israel and the United Arab Emirates didn't acknowledge this, but the fact that it's come out from the U.S. ambassador in Tel Aviv at an event today suggests that this was a wink and a nod, sort of an authorized leak from both sides on that to possibly put more pressure on the Iranians.
Correspondent John Gambrell reporting. Meanwhile, President Trump is on his way to Beijing for a meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. The American Enterprise Institute's Matthew Continetti hopes Presidents Trump and Xi discuss arms control when they meet.
I think we need to have some type of dialogue on strategic arms with China. I think that's one reason why we can't continue down the Cold War pattern of just simply engaging in arms control with the Russians. In the new world where China is a rising nuclear power, they have to be included as well.
Continetti made his comments to the Salem Radio Network. Memphis Grizzlies forward Brandon Clark has died, according to the team, his agency, and the NBA. He was 29. Neither the Grizzlies nor Clark's agency, Priority Sports, provided any details Tuesday about when, where, or how Clark died. On Wall Street, the Dow by 56 points, the Nasdaq dropped 185, the S&P 500 lower by 11, oil around $102 a barrel. More at townhall.com.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-550-7800. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-550-7800. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-550-7800.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states. Not available in California.
With your news flash, John Loretta, 101.1 The Answer. Pulaski County facing a significant budget crisis. The county treasurer says there's a in general fund balance, and the comptroller says that COVID-19 relief funds have all been depleted. Pulaski County considering significant budget cuts. Fort Smith Board of Directors discussing a possible change in city government, a transition from city administrator to a mayor-council system. A small earthquake rocked northern Arkansas this morning. The 2.5 magnitude quake reported by the U.S. Geological Survey. A Pennsylvania woman found a 3.09 carat white diamond at the crater of Diamond State Park. Tammy Chase Insurance, your local insurance expert, taking the time to understand your needs with no confusion and no pressure. Find out more at TammyChaseInsurance.com. John Loretta with your news flash on 101.1 The Answer.
With your sports flash, I'm Tony Desiri, 101.1 The Answer. NFL, the Dallas Cowboys releasing their full schedule on Thursday night. The Cowboys will play their 6 divisional games, plus the teams in the NFC West, the AFC South, plus games against Green Bay, Tampa, and Baltimore. That game with the Ravens will be held in Brazil, the first international game for the Cowboys since 2014. Arkansas softball hosting the Fayetteville Regional in the upcoming NCAA tournament. Play begins on Friday with Arkansas facing Fordham. They're also hosting Washington and South Florida. The Razorbacks won 42-11 this season, regional play double elimination, with the winner advancing to the best-of-3 super regional round. Arkansas baseball will close out their regular season with a 3-game series against Kentucky beginning on Thursday. David Lucas Financial, focusing on ways to help you save money, not giving it away to the financial world. Learn more about worry-free retirement today at TotalWealth.com. I'm Tony Desiri with your Sports Flash on 101.1 The Answer.
Tired of paying for clicks that never call? Salem Media's pay-per-click experts put your ad dollars where they actually work. See results with us. Call 501-404-6535 today. That's 501-404-6535.
Early detection saves lives. I'm Dr. Gwendolyn Bryant-Smith. At the UAMS Breast Center, we use advanced mammography with same-day results for both screening and diagnostic studies.
I'm Dr. Rhonda Henry Tillman. Understanding breast health is your first step to early detection.
Make yourself a priority and schedule your mammogram.
Call 501-526-6100 and let's paint Arkansas pink.
Sponsored by this station, the Arkansas Broadcasters Association, and UAMS.
Live from Little Rock, Doc Washburn.
It's fun when they let me out to go talk to people.
He's like the adorable puppy, you know. He chews on your Christian Louboutins, but somehow you still love him.
They say I'm a distinguished radio talk show.
No insult intended. The news you don't get anywhere else. Doc Washburn.
It's good to be able to get out of the studio so that I can actually kiss hands and shake babies.
You just can't make this stuff up.
As we say here in the natural state, y'all come see us.
You better watch what you say, or you might just find yourself with a lead role.
The Doc Washburn Show. Weekday afternoons, 4 to 6.
If I don't lie down and take a nap, I'm going to keel over.
Doc Washburn on 101.1. The Answer.
Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues. You can sound off and talk back at 501-401-1011. Bill Malugin, congressional correspondent for Fox News in Washington, D.C., is on X saying this. Breaking. Senate Homeland Security Committee Chairman Senator Rand Paul, Republican Kentucky, tells me that the COVID-19 whistleblower who will testify publicly and in person before his committee tomorrow morning is an active CIA employee who will testify that the intelligence community has covered up the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic for years. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Oh, buddy. Is anybody else telling you about this? Bill Malugin, again, Fox News Channel, congressional correspondent in D.C., continues. Senator Rand Paul tells me, quote, I think this whistleblower will help to confirm that this was known, has been known for a long time, and that when the scientists at the CIA looked at this, they discovered or they concluded that the virus had come from the lab. What we're going to find is that the cover-up is a real thing, that there are members of the community, the intelligence community, that still don't want the truth to come out. I've said the government was involved not only in funding this research, but then in trying to obscure the truth. And the truth is the U.S. government funded research in Wuhan, China, and that research led to a virus that escaped the lab in all likelihood accidentally, unquote. Well, some people think in all likelihood intentionally. Anyway, Bill Malugin, Fox News continues. I asked Senator Paul for any more details on who the CIA whistleblower is ahead of tomorrow's hearing. Senator Paul said, and I quote, "This is a brave person who has spent a career in the CIA. I don't know how much can be revealed, but is actually famous within the community for being someone who behind the scenes has really helped our country," unquote. Bill Malugin says, I'll be in the room and covering the hearing for Fox News tomorrow morning. This sounds like a big deal. And let me just say something. Because there's a lot of this on social media. Oh, yeah, another strongly worded letter. Big deal. What are you going to do about it? Well, I don't know how many people know that a member of Congress is not actually able to actually indict anybody. Members of Congress aren't actually able to prosecute anyone. Senator Rand Paul has certainly referred Dr. Anthony Fauci to the Justice Department for criminal prosecution more than once. Of course, that would have been before Biden's pardon. But it's like, what else do you want him to do? Now, before I get to any more of this, that there is an Arkansas connection here. And since Senator Rand Paul was talking about people on the Senate Intelligence Committee, the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee is a fellow you may have heard of before. His name's Tom Cotton. And I'll bet he doesn't mind the truth getting out because Tom Cotton stuck his neck out years ago, back in 2020, saying, well, gee, I don't know. I mean, I wonder if maybe the virus could have come from a lab, like that lab right there in Wuhan. And people just launched on Tom Cotton like a ton of bricks. How dare you? So I bet he's going to be pretty interested in this CIA whistleblower's testimony tomorrow. No. I'm sorry. No, you got the wrong show. I call balls and strikes. It doesn't matter whatever else I agree or disagree with Tom Cotton on. He said what he said. Hey, maybe, do you think we should look at the possibility that maybe the COVID virus came from a lab? What about that? Oh, you science denier. Remarkable. So Rand Paul was on with Cabot Phillips on the Daily Wire podcast, and this just dropped just a few minutes ago. He said the carelessness of Anthony Fauci in all likelihood led to this pandemic that 15 million people died, and still there hasn't been responsibility. He was on to discuss the CIA whistleblower that is scheduled to come on in the morning. And a lot of people are going, hey, man, you're kind of minimizing this. We don't believe Fauci was careless at all. It seems intentional. So Rand Paul dropped less than an hour ago this statement over on X. CIA scientists voted 5-1 that COVID came from a Wuhan lab leak. Then someone scrubbed out their conclusion at 2 a.m. and changed the report. Tomorrow, a whistleblower testifies before my committee. The COVID cover-up is unraveling. So, but will anything happen? I don't know. I can't call it. But what I do know is that it's my responsibility to keep letting you know what is happening. So let's go to U.S. Representative Jim Jordan over on Newsmax. I think he was asked about President Trump's upcoming trip to China to talk to Xi Jinping. Jim Jordan on Newsmax.
What are you expecting President Trump to accomplish in China?
Well, I think he's going to talk about all those things you just mentioned. They're going to talk about tariffs, Taiwan, Iran, all those issues. But here's what I know. President Trump makes decisions that are in the best interest of our country. He's going to do things that benefit the United States of America, and that is his focus. And thank goodness we have him on the world stage. Thank goodness he's our president doing these negotiations. And frankly, not Kamala Harris, because Lord knows what she'd be up to if she was there. So I feel confident he's going to talk about all these issues and make progress for things that, again, benefit the citizens of our great country.
There's Jim Jordan, Republican U.S. Representative from Ohio and chair of the House Judiciary Committee, the conservative Republican member of Congress that conservative Republicans out here in the 50 states most love to hate. Because they always say, oh, another strongly worded letter, Jim Jordan? You don't ever do anything. And again, since members of Congress can't actually prosecute anyone, they can't actually put anybody in handcuffs, they can't actually even fire a bureaucrat, I always ask them what they wanted to do, and most of them are kind of like, they ignore it because they just want to, I guess, experience the feels. It feels good to fuss at people. Speaking of fussing at people, Jim Comey, former FBI director who has been indicted, who has been arrested, freaking out over his daughter being fired over there on MSNBC.
My daughter was a superstar prosecutor in the Southern District of New York and was fired only because she has my last name. That's stupid. That's immoral. That's illegal in my view and painful. She'll be okay. I mean, she got a job at a law firm, and someday I hope she'll go back to the Department of Justice.
It's illegal to fire Jim Comey's daughter out of the Southern District of New York, DOJ. His daughter was a lead prosecutor in the Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell prosecution, which a lot of us think should have been a lot more wide-ranging. Wasn't she a lead prosecutor in the recent prosecution of Diddy also? Yeah, I don't think she was doing the American people any favors. So, Jim Comey, buddy, if firing her was illegal, when will the lawsuit come, Jim? Remember, this is the same Jim Comey who said, I had no idea what 8647 meant, as he was doing a book tour about a top-level government bureaucrat using veiled messages to threaten people. You can't make this up. You can't. You can't make it up. Well, I mean, if you could make it up, you'd have a much more vivid imagination than I have. Let me rephrase. If it please the court, may I revise and amend my remarks? Okay, I can't make it up. Maybe you could. I don't know. But I certainly couldn't. But it's very interesting watching, the passing cavalcade of life. It's you just never know from one day to the next what's going to happen. All right, more coming up. The Doc Washburn Show continues on Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock? What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part? It's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
In a world where more and more people decide what's right and wrong based on how they feel, what happens when feelings become the only moral standard? If emotions alone are truth, then who decides why murder, theft, or violence are wrong? And if someone feels justified in destroying property or harming others, on what basis can society say they're wrong? For 50 years, Dennis Prager has challenged audiences around the world to think deeply about the moral foundations of civilization. In his new book, If There Is No God, he confronts the biggest questions of human existence. Why does evil go unpunished? Why do innocent people suffer? And can morality survive without God? Whether a believer, a skeptic, or somewhere in between, this book offers serious answers for a morally confused age. Clear, provocative, and accessible. If There Is No God by Dennis Prager. Available now at pragerstore.com. That's pragerstore.com.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, You can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
We're keeping Arkansas beautiful. Want to lend a hand? Don't be afraid to get them dirty. Every day, volunteers around the state are picking up litter, planting trees and wildflowers, recycling, and more. You know what these volunteers need most? Help. Volunteer today at keeparkansasbeautiful.com. Learn more about all our programs. A message brought to you by the Keep Arkansas Beautiful Commission, this station, and the Arkansas Broadcasters Association.
101.1 The Answer. Doc Washer Show continues. Sound off and talk back. 501-401-1011. Now, I just thought this was fascinating. Kash Patel has been testifying before a Senate committee today under oath. And Senator Chris Van Hollen, Maryland, Democrat, U.S. Senator, thought he had Kash Patel. And I think he was stunned to find out that he didn't have Kash Patel. So Senator Chris Van Hollen and Kash Patel, cut one, please.
As I said in my opening remarks, I really don't care about your personal life so long as you are able to perform your public and official responsibilities, which are awesome responsibilities. Multiple reports, including reporting by The Atlantic, have alleged episodes of excessive drinking, unexplained absences, and behavior that concern current and former FBI and DOJ officials.
The Atlantic magazine is owned by a woman who was best friends with Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, perhaps you remember the name Ghislaine Maxwell. She was Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend and pimp. She would procure underage females for Jeffrey Epstein. And you can, don't take my word for it. You can Google it. You can Google. No, this is going to drive me crazy. What's the name of the woman that owns the Atlantic? Because you can certainly Google her name and Ghislaine Maxwell, Ghislaine. Yeah, Laureen Powell Jobs. Yes. Isn't she Steve Jobs' widow? Yeah. You can Google Laureen Powell Jobs, Laurene, and Ghislaine Maxwell, and see a picture of them just having a great old time poolside. And the Atlantic magazine loves doing hit pieces on conservatives using unnamed sources. So Senator Chris Van Hollen is acting like, well, it's the Atlantic magazine. You know, who cares if the unnamed sources? Who cares if they're making it up? Senator Chris Van Hollen and Kash Patel, cut two, please.
You have publicly denied those allegations and filed a defamation lawsuit. So today, as you testify before Congress? Is it your testimony that those allegations are categorically false?
Unequivocally, categorically false.
So there have been no occasions during your tenure when FBI personnel were unable to promptly reach you?
Absolutely not. You can ask my entire workforce. They hear from me at every single hour of the day, as do these great gentlemen here, as do the men and women of the interagency and state and local law enforcement in the White House.
And so there have been no occasions when your security detail had difficulty waking or locating you. Is that right?
Nope, it's a total farce. I don't even know where you get this stuff, but it doesn't make it credible because you say so.
Yeah. So Senator Van Hollen's not going to be too happy with that. But Kash Patel is kind of like Nolan Ryan in the old days, Texas Rangers, kind of rearing back for a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, and the batter's not going to be able to get anywhere near it. Now, to continue the baseball analogy, Senator Van Hollen is making the mistake of digging in at the plate against Nolan Ryan. That's not a good idea. It's just not. All right, Senator Chris Van Hollen and Kash Patel, cut 3, please.
I'm not saying it, Director Patel. It's been written and documented.
You are literally saying it.
No, I'm saying that these are reports, Director Patel.
No,
and
unlike your baseless reports, the only person that was slinging margaritas in El Salvador on the taxpayer dollar with a convicted gangbanging rapist was you.
You know,
the only person that ran up a $7,000 bar tab in Washington, D.C. at the lobby bar was you. So the only individual in this room that has been drinking on taxpayer dime during the day polygraphing you.
So that sounds like evidence that Kash Patel can back up, as opposed to Atlantic Magazine smear stories based on made-up, unnamed sources. Did you hear what happened there? The FBI director just accused the U.S. senator of day drinking on the taxpayer dime. And when you talk about El Salvador, Chris Van Hollen was so upset that we had sent a very violent gang member back to El Salvador. He went down there to meet with the guy and have margaritas with him. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he just can't stand ICE. Oh, my goodness, no. So I think we got one more. Senator Chris Van Hollen and Kash Patel, cut 4, please.
Director Patel, come on. These are serious allegations that were made against you. They're in a lawsuit that you filed.
You drinking margaritas with a gangbanger screwing on
just
video.
Goes to show you
running a $7,000 bar tab at the lobby bar has been filed by your own office.
This goes to show
during the day. That's you. This is the ultimate example of hypocrisy.
Mr. Chairman,
I will not be tarnished by baseless allegations, fraudulent statements from the media.
So you notice that no matter what Kash Patel throws at him, all of which is true, Democrat U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen doesn't skip a beat. And you know why that is? I'll tell you. The number one rule of being a con man is never give up the con. So it doesn't matter what Kash Patel has on him, he's going to stick with the narrative. Now, I will say this. There's another senator, a guy who used to be an astronaut, Mark Warner, U.S. Senator, Democrat from Arizona, who did some really bad stuff on CBS Face the Nation Sunday morning. Some really bad stuff. And he is now being investigated, criminally investigated by the Department of War. Sometimes members of Congress get confidential briefings, and they're not allowed to divulge what they're told. But Senator Warner went on Face the Nation, CBS, Sunday morning, divulged stuff which could put our armed forces in danger. And wait until I tell you, Margaret Brennan, the moderator of Face the Nation, CBS Sunday morning. Wait until I tell you about her. More coming up. Doc Washer Show, 101.1 The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump's efforts to reshape U.S. House districts have seen mixed outcomes. South Carolina's senators defied his push Tuesday, while Missouri's top court upheld a new map backed by Trump that could benefit Republicans in the midterm elections. The national redistricting battle has been raging for 10 months. A doctor says a French woman being treated for hantavirus after being infected on a cruise ship is critically ill and being treated with an artificial lung. A doctor at the Paris hospital treating the hantavirus patient said Tuesday the woman's blood is being pumped through an artificial lung to relieve pressure on her lungs and heart. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 56 points, the Nasdaq dropped 185, the S&P declined 11, oil at around $102 a barrel. This is SRN News.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Hi, my name's Neil. I have some advice for you if you've been trying to break free from credit card debt. You can start by doing what I did. Get your bills together and call Trinity Debt Management. Trinity is dedicated to helping people like me become debt-free. When I called, my first experience was a feeling of relief. My counselor was kind, and best of all, she didn't judge me. In just a few minutes, she helped me figure out a plan that consolidated all my bills into one lower monthly payment. This substantially reduced my high interest rates and put me on the road to success. In the end, I saved thousands in interest, and today my credit card debt is a thing of the past.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-936-5496.
My name is Neil. Take it from someone who's been there. Call Trinity and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-936-5496.
This is Albert Mohler for townhall.com. The Trump administration has launched an investigation into Smith College, one of the 7 historical all-women's colleges in the American Northeast. Why the investigation? Well, Smith College is and has been since 2015 admitting biological males. The 7 sisters have been granted an exemption going all the way back to the 1970s to Title IX legislation. They were allowed to be restrictive as women's colleges. The Trump administration is basically saying you can't have it both ways. That is, claim the historic exemption or you can admit biological males. President Trump made the point very clear in his second inaugural address. He said, quote, as of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only 2 genders, male and female, end quote. I will argue that that statement was one of the most important and courageous statements a president of the United States has made in recent years. To his credit, he's been pushing this through. It's a necessary step towards the restoration of cultural sanity, and for that clarity.
This is 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk. Start your day with Dave Ellswick in the morning, breaking down the stories shaping Arkansas and the nation and hearing what you have to say. Then in the afternoon, join Doc Washburn as he takes on the biggest headlines, asks the tough questions, and opens the phones for real conversation. Because on 101.1 The Answer, talk radio means your voice matters. Call in, sound off, be a part of the discussion at 501-401-1011. Plus, hear from some of the biggest names in talk radio. CNN Scott Jennings, Mike Gallagher, Larry Elder, bringing you smart analysis, strong opinions, and the debate everyone's talking about. Local voices, national perspective, and your chance to be heard. 501-401-1011. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
Here at 101.1 The Answer, we've got a brand new studio phone number that makes it easier for you to connect with us. Whether you want to talk to Dave Ellswick, Doc Washburn, or any of our other local hosts, it's now easier than ever to let us know your thoughts. Just call 501-401-1011. 501-401-1011. One more time, 501-401-1011.
101.1 The Answer. Doc Washburn Show continues, or you can sound off and talk back at 501-401-1011. Boy, don't I feel silly. So I'm sitting here looking at the email that I sent to my producer with all the attached audio clips, kind of getting ready for what's next. And the problem is it'll have like the first few syllables, but not the whole name of the clips. And so my producer said, hey, we got a call during the bottom of the hour news break. A fellow said, the guy you're getting ready to talk about is Senator Mark Kelly, not Senator Mark Warner. And I'm like, oh, did I say Mark Warner? You must have. Because it just says Senator Mark ... And somehow or another, my sleep-deprived brain, because I got in about 4:30 in the morning from driving all the way back from Panama City, Florida, I put in the last name Warner instead of Kelly. Now, they're both liberal Democrat U.S. senators, but the one who's in the hot water right now is the former NASA astronaut and the husband of Gabby Giffords, Senator Mark Kelly, U.S. Senator out of Arizona. And he was on Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan on CBS yesterday morning. I'll tell you more about her in just a minute. Let's go with Senator. And I appreciate, we very rarely get callers on the air, but we get more callers off the air saying, hey, man, I really appreciate that or really enjoy that. Or do you realize what you just said? So we really appreciate calls like that. Senator Mark Kelly with Margaret Brennan on Face the Nation. Cut one, please.
Yes, Margaret, we have. We've been tracking it. A number of times we've been briefed by the Pentagon on specific munitions. Actually, it's been pretty detailed on Tomahawks, ATACMS, SM-3s, THAAD rounds, Patriot rounds, so those interceptor rounds to defend ourselves. And the numbers are, I think it's fair to say it's shocking, how deep we have gone into these magazines because this president got our country into this without a strategic goal, without a plan, without a timeline. And because of that, we've expended a lot of munitions. And that means the American people are less safe, whether it's a conflict in the Western Pacific with China or somewhere else in the world. The munitions are depleted. You may have seen me ask the Secretary of Defense this question about how long it's going to take to replenish. We're talking about years.
Okay, you literally can't do what he just did. You can't just put it out there. The specifics that you received in a closed door confidential briefing about the nature of, are we running low on these munitions? Are we running low on those munitions? That's really, really bad. And Mark Kelly was an officer. He wasn't just an astronaut. He was an officer. He knows what he's doing. Just the same as he knew what he was doing last year when he was one of 6 Democrat members of Congress urging junior officers not to obey, quote unquote, illegal orders. He knows exactly what he's doing. And he's in trouble. All right, let's go with, and I'll tell you about Margaret Brennan, host of CBS Face the Nation here in a moment. Let's go with cut 2, please.
Well, Admiral Paparo, the head of U.S. Pacific Command, was recently asked in front of Congress about American readiness and whether the diversion to the Middle East was hurting it. He said he did not see any real cost on our ability to deter China. From what you have heard, when you say it's shocking, do you think that the U.S. would be able to defend, for example, Taiwan if China tries to move against it? Or are you saying we are not in a position to do that right now?
Wow. Margaret Brennan and Mark Kelly are on the same page in more ways than you might realize. It's just remarkable. And I'll tell you about Margaret Brennan, and I'll tell you what Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is saying also. Let's go with cut 3.
Well, it all depends on the length of a conflict. Conflict that lasts a matter of days or just weeks. I think we're well positioned to do that. If a conflict goes on for months or years, when it takes years to replenish some of these munitions, of course, we're going to be in a worse posture than we otherwise would be in if this war in Iran didn't happen. And by the way, Margaret, what are the American people getting out of this? I mean, this president said he wasn't going to start any new wars. He was going to bring down costs. He's done exactly the opposite. War against Iran, costs on everything are up.
As Mark Kelly knows, Iran has been at war with us since 1979. So obviously it's not a new war. Margaret Brennan on X said Sunday morning to encourage people to check out Face the Nation. She said, after hearing the Pentagon classified brief on Iran war impact on U.S. weapons stockpiles, Senator Mark Kelly says it is, quote, shocking how deep we have gone into these magazines, unquote. He said the Tomahawks, ATACMS, SM-3, THAAD rounds, Patriot rounds. So those interceptor rounds to defend ourselves have been hit hard. He says it'll take years to replenish those stockpiles, which could affect a hypothetical U.S. conflict with China. I mean, I don't want to use the T word. I don't want to call it treason because I'm not a jag, you know. I'm not a military attorney. Responding to Margaret Brennan, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says, quote, Captain, unquote, Mark Kelly strikes again. Now he's blabbing on TV, falsely and dumbly. Is it dumbly or dumbly? Probably dumbly. Falsely and dumbly blabbing on TV about a classified Pentagon briefing he received. Did he violate his oath again? Department of War legal counsel will review. Buddy. It's really not looking good for Mark Kelly. Now, let me tell you why I think Margaret Brennan was so delighted to platform Mark Kelly saying what he said. Because nobody ever tells you this. Margaret Brennan is married to a Muslim who wrote a paper about how wonderful Sharia law is when he was at law school at University of Miami in Florida. Don't take my word for it. You can look it up. Now we have an interesting response here from Ezra Cohen, who was Deputy Chief of Staff, DOD, in the waning days of Trump administration, term 1. He says the entire Democrat narrative on this issue is a lesson in hypocrisy. They were silent as the Biden adults actually depleted our stockpiles on behalf of wealthy and capable countries in a war with marginal long-term benefit to the United States. Oh, yes, they certainly were. They absolutely, positively were. So I believe he's going to be held accountable. I really believe he's going to be held accountable. But I've been wrong before. We'll see. You can't do that kind of stuff. All right. So, you know this guy, Kevin O'Leary, they call him Mr. Wonderful from the Shark Tank? He was on that late night Gutfeld show last night on Fox News, which I completely missed because I was on the road somewhere in Alabama or Mississippi. But here is Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary on Gutfeld. Cut one.
Prefer that you say you have to pay your fair share, but you never know what that is.
Yeah.
Personally, what I think we should all do, and this another California idea, everybody pays 110%, 10% more than they make, and everybody gets free government cheese down by the river. That would work.
Yes.
You know, think about it. I mean, free food once a day down by the river, and you make no money, but you work all day. That's California.
Reminds me of the old Neil Young song from over 55 years ago. You remember that, right? Down by the river, I got my cheese. Wait, I got the lyrics wrong again? Okay. Sorry. Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary on Gutfeld. Cut 2, please.
Now, the whole thing now, which I love, is we've got competition of states. So you got Mondami, love him. I think he's fantastic on social media. Meanwhile, he's the best real estate agent for Miami Beach.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give him the award myself. I'm going to say thank you. But enough. The traffic's hell down here now. Everybody's from New York.
Yeah.
Or Massachusetts or New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
You know, Governor DeSantis pointed something out about New York and New Jersey losing population, Florida picking up population. He said people are concerned that people are going to bring their blue state politics down here. He said, actually, it's the conservatives that are running away from states like that. If all the conservatives who came from Jersey to Florida had stayed in Jersey, they might have elected a Republican governor in the last election. But, you know, their losses are gains, what DeSantis said about Florida. Anyway, more coming up straight ahead. Doc Washer Show continues on Little Rock's premier talk station, 101.1 The Answer.
Think about how many times I had.
And now it's time for the Cat's Corner.
This is John Catsimatidis, the Cat's Corner. Well, I remember the movie Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. What happened? We have too many politicians in Washington that know nothing about business. Why? We need more common sense in Washington. Whether we're talking about the federal government, state government, you need common sense. We need the balance of power in our government. Doctors, lawyers, accountants, professionals, business people, and blue-collar workers. And that's the only way we can come out with common sense. Putting on taxes and regulations without knowledge of what happens. Some of the states are not doing a good job. All they do is raise taxes. And then when they need more money, they tax the taxes. I mean, you got to laugh about it, but it's happening. We need people that have common sense, a balance of power in all our legislative functions to be able to operate our country, our states, our cities more efficiently. This is John Catsimatidis, the Cat's Corner.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
America is at a tipping point. To ensure we stay the land of the free and home of the brave, you need to be informed and engaged. That's why we're here. 101.1 The Answer, where Little Rock comes to talk.
Concerned about market risk? I'm Ference Toth, host of the Your Personal Bank Show. The S&P 500 valuations are higher than at any time ever recorded in stock market history. This includes 1929 and 1999. Annuities and Your Personal Bank offer unlimited upside with no downside risk. Tune in to the Your Personal Bank Show Saturdays at 1 p.m. or contact Ference at yourpersonalbank.com. The Your Personal Bank Show, Saturdays at 1 p.m. on 101.1 The Answer.
What I want to play one, The Answer. Doc Washer Show continues. Sound off and talk back at 501-401-1011. So the Democrat Gazette announced late last week, I was probably already out of town by then, that Mayor Frank Scott Jr., Little Rock mayor, announced his campaign for a third term. And Mayor Frank says, over the past several years, we've been doing the work. Together with residents, we've made our city safer. I just want to stop you right there. He's been in office for less than 7.5 years, and we've had almost 400 homicides in the city of Little Rock, not Pulaski County, the city of Little Rock, in less than 7.5 years, including the all-time high of 81 murders in 2022, which broke the previous record of 76 murders in Little Rock back in 1993, the Bangin' in Little Rock days. You know, the HBO documentary, Bangin' in Little Rock. So please, spare me this, we've made Little Rock safer. Huh? Oh, so we don't have as many homicides per year now as we did in 2022? Yeah, but you took office January 2019. You can't blame your record homicide year in 2022 on the last mayor. Stodler was long gone. That's on you, bro. Anyway. You see, it's supposed to be a nonpartisan office, a nonpartisan race, but he let everybody know he's a liberal Democrat. Speaking of Democrats, Ted Cruz, U.S. Senator, Texas. We got a clip of Ted Cruz, 2 clips from him talking about where the Democrat Party is now. Here's Ted Cruz.
You just played my colleague, John Fetterman. John has become a good friend. He really has shown a lot of courage speaking up in a Democrat Party that is just out of their mind. But the point he raised, I think, is exactly right, that the Democrat Party has become so extreme that they are the party of extreme left-wing, anti-border, abolish the police, transgender witches. Like, that ain't a big populace.
So anybody going to ask Little Rock Mayor Frank Scott Jr. about that? How come you're still part of this party that's getting more and more whacked out? Ted Cruz on Dems, cut 2, please.
And they've decided, number one, when it comes to men, if you're a Democrat and the only thing you have to say about men are the words toxic masculinity, you know, I don't think being a man is toxic. I don't think being a father is toxic. I don't think being a husband is toxic. I don't think being strong and leading is toxic. But yet the Democrat Party, they tell young men, everything about you is unacceptable. You need to be this soy latte castrati in pajamas. and it's not shocking that they're hemorrhaging among young men and among anyone with any sense.
Did Senator Cruz just use the word castrati? I don't want to. No, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to. If you must, you can Google it. I'd just rather not go there. Yeah, it's wonderful to be back in Little Rock. It was wonderful to see family in Florida. It's good to be back. And what we do every day, 24/7, is we research what is going on and try to bring you the breaking news that nobody else is touching. We believe it is our responsibility to share with you. Anyway, as always, the audio for today's show becomes the DocWashburn.com podcast in the evening. The great Dave Ellswick up at 7:06 in the morning. I'm Doc Washburn. See you at 4:06 tomorrow, God willing. 101.1 The Answer.